you have far more control over your health than you may think. Even for some of you on here that already know that you have, pretty much total control over your health, this might be some shocking new information to you, but at a very basic level, we've got thoughts that are driving emotions. And, literally on a chemical neurotransmitter level, you think happy thoughts and that creates happy chemicals that are floating through your bloodstream. So, literally you can, within seconds, boom, change the chemicals that are floating through your bloodstream based on what you're thinking about. So that may not be totally shocking. We've talked about that before. That makes sense. You get that. But it gets even more trippy and deeper than that when you really start to look at the latest and greatest in the research on genetics. And in the field of epigenetics, which is Latin for above genetics, what they found when they started the Human Genome Project, there was a couple of, well, more than a couple, so there's some unintended consequences that happened. First, they thought it was going to take, 10 times, 20 times as long as it took them, and they ended up finding that the human genome didn't have as many genes as they thought that they were going to find, and really the total, and I think we'll have to fact check this, but around 20,000 genes, 25,000 genes. And if anyone else has heard this or knows the real numbers behind this, but you'll get the concept here in a minute. It could be 200,000, but what they found was a lot of it was what they call junk DNA. And one of the things that they discovered was that these things can turn on and off. Genes can turn on and off. So things like alcoholism, that they believe has some genetic predispositions for some people. It's really a matter of those genes, that gene turning on and off. And what they found was the number one factor for this phenomenon happening for folks is environmental factors turning genes on and off. Now, does anyone want to guess, out of all the environmental, in quotes, factors that are possible, what is the number one most influential thing for turning genes on and off? Does anyone want to take a guess? And I put environmental in quotes, so it's kind of a trick question here.
Well, it might be environment, but it's really more of your thinking.
Yes, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, your thoughts, they found, are very influential for how genes express themselves. So literally, you are changing your genetic makeup by what you're thinking. So pretty crazy, pretty wild science there. Now, some examples, or a example, I got a couple here. So one classic one, study done on water by Dr. If anyone knows his name. It's a Japanese doctor. His name's blanking me right now. Yakamoto? I can't. But anyway, Japanese scientists did a great study on the effects of lots of things on water, and freezing water samples in the presence of things like music and labels. So he would take one petri dish, put a label on it that said love, and another one that said hate, and would freeze the water samples and look at the crystal structures through a microscope. And what he found was that, for instance, the containers that had love on it would be these beautiful, gorgeous, symmetrical crystal structures, and the ones that had hate written on it would have these very ugly, asymmetrical, disfigured kind of crystal structures. So it was changing the way that the water structure would freeze. And he has other examples. It's a great book. Music, for instance, playing Beethoven versus maybe some gangster rap or something like that, would have an effect, would have different effects on how these crystals are freezing. So that is another pretty trippy example that blows a lot of Western minds. The fact that things like putting writing just with ink on a container would make water freeze differently. Now just
Hey,
think.
Brian?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Masaru Emoto.
Masaru Emoto. That sounds
I
right.
have the book in front of me.
There she is, Kate, our OG. We've heard this example many a times. Think of what happens now, because our bodies are majority water, right? And if you are thinking a certain thought, what is that doing to the genetic, molecular, vibrational makeup of your body? Makes you wonder. Now, let me give you another metaphor or an example, and this is real. You can start practicing this today, tonight. If you're ever sick, do you say, "Oh, I hate this. This sucks. This is terrible. I feel so crappy, and I can't wait to get over this. And I just hate being sick all the time." Now, think about this. Because we are very conscious about our language here. If you're sick, what does that really mean? What is your body doing? What does sick really mean? What's happening?
Well, it's like pain. It's kind of a cry, right? For you to do something about it.
Yep, your body's telling you something, right? And what's it also doing? So let's say,
Is defending
oh, was that Laura?
is yes.
What was that?
Like, I guess defending your
Yeah, it's your immune
itself,
system.
like when you get fever, it's just a reaction because your body.
Yeah, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's your body's defense mechanisms, right? It's your immune system. It's trying to, whether it's through snot, through feces, through urine, through sweat glands, many different ways your body fights really hard to get something toxic or a foreign invader out of your system. So why would you say you hate this when your body's doing exactly what it's designed to do? Why wouldn't you be, rooting on your immune systems? I love this. Come on, diarrhea. Come on, sweat. Come on, mucus. Like, get this out, as fast as we can. And then, for most people, not only are you saying or running this internal dialogue, so it's making it more miserable than it needs to be, but we're also taking things like decongestion or let's say Pepto-Bismol, for instance, that is preventing your body from eliminating as efficiently as it can. You're addressing the symptoms. You're not really allowing the body to run its natural course or taking the treatment that's addressing the cause, right? So think of the difference, and it'll amaze you. I'm telling you, give it a try. Next time you're not feeling so well and your body is attempting to eliminate something, root your immune system, root your body on, and notice the difference that it has for you psychologically, emotionally. And by the way, because we said, thoughts drive emotions, if you're putting gratitude and love and joy, even though I know physically, and these are in the 10 moments when it's really hard, when you're physically not feeling well, but it's the exact most critical, important time that you need to be doing this. It's going to drastically change your experience. So, some authors that I recommend that I'm actually reading a book by Deepak Chopra right now. He has a great book called Quantum Healing. Highly recommend his stuff. He's all about Ayurvedic approaches to treating illnesses like cancer, and Joe Dispenza is another one doing some really great things. He has his newest one is called Becoming Supernatural, but both of them take a position on a more metaphysical side of things, and how a lot of the, if not all, illnesses have a mental, emotional, metaphysical cause. And so their approaches look at healing from within, going, into your inner state, not dismissing any of the, Western approaches, but doing it, in parallel with those things, because we have to heal on the inside. Can't just be treating symptoms, or when a disease has already manifested. We've got to do some healing on the psychosomatic, the emotional side of things as well. So both of these guys really looking at health from a software perspective, as we talk about it here, and love their stuff. So if you want to do a deeper dive into this content around how thoughts are driving your health, and you have even more control and power than you think, Joe Dispenza has a great personal story where he essentially shattered his spinal cord, and he opted to not have surgery, and he basically fused his spine together using his own meditation and thought-based approaches. It's fascinating. It'll blow your mind if you've never heard the story before, but very fun stuff to research and know, and infuse into your legendary health strategies and creation here.